I wanted to give you my experience in dealing with the Dominican Republic, because we like to try to have a good experience with the country before we start, or at least knowing something about the country before we start getting people involved with that country. And Dominican Republic goes back a long ways for me. I actually applied for residency, the same sort of residency program they've got today, back around 2004. And I'm going to give you, and I also applied back around 2019, which I'm going to tell you the experience I had in both cases, and then you can more or less go from there. One thing is that got me a little bit about the DR is when I went to the DR one time, the first time I went there, I went through the immigration line and I had this big wad in my pocket. It was around 2,000 US dollars in cash. And I didn't feel comfortable putting it right on the conveyor belt because I felt like that it might get stolen by the time it went through the belt. And so the policeman, she asked me what was in my wallet, and I told her it was cash. She says, well, how much have you got in there? And I said, about 2,000 US. And she asked me, she said, can I have some of it? And I said, what? She says, can I have some of it? She was serious. And I said, no. And I mean, this is the type of stuff you have to deal with, okay? Anyway, I got kind of a bad impression right off the bat of the DR from that. Anyway, I went through the conveyor belt there and got back to my hotel room and met with this lady because I took a trip to the Dominican Republic because I didn't want to, I had heard so many bad things about the immigration lawyers in the DR. I mean, really bad things, okay? People stealing money, just doing all kinds of corrupt things. So I figured, you know, I wanted to try to avoid that the best way I could. So I figured, why don't I just get a lawyer that's directly in immigration that's with the government? And I think I'll bypass a lot of this crap, this corruptness and crap. So I hired this lady who was she was a lawyer with immigration. And I ended up talking to her and everything, and I told her what I was looking to do, getting residency there. And she basically got all the documents done, and then I was supposed to get fill out everything while I was there. And then I asked her how long it would take to get everything finished on where I could come in and get the cellular card and everything. She said it would be about 3 or 4 months. So anyway, make a long story short, a year goes by, and at first she was real good about emailing, and then all of a sudden it started to stop. Couldn't get her to return phone calls, nothing. So I ended up a year later taking a trip down there. And I ended up calling the immigration department before I went over there, and she wasn't there. And it was very hard to get anybody who spoke English to begin with. But someone had called her, the lawyer who was the immigration lawyer that I had met there. They called her to her house. She was at her house, and she called me at my hotel and found out that she wasn't going back to immigration. And basically, she says, I'm in trouble. I said, what do you mean? And she said, I can't talk about it right now, but anyway, I'll call you back later. So I instantly went down to the immigration department. And when I went in there, I was met by a guy who was an investigator with the immigration department. And he says, I hear you're looking for so-and-so. And I said, yeah. And he says, you need to sit down. I need to talk to you. So we sat down and started talking and found out that she had absconded the money. She not only did immigration for me, but she was supposed to do immigration for a bunch of other people from Haiti. Now, how she got connected with the people from Haiti, I don't know. But they could not find any of her paperwork, the people from Haiti. They couldn't find any of the paperwork from the people from Haiti. And they didn't keep any receipts on payments that were paid to her, okay? He says, funny thing is, he looked at me, he says, we do have your documents. And I said, probably the reason is I kept receipts on everything. And I said, here they are. So what happened was I ended up, he said, let me do this. He says, we do have your records here. So let me look over. And he says, can you come back tomorrow? I said, yeah. So I came back the next day. the investigator is not there, and I made a mistake in never collecting his card because he did speak fairly good English, okay? And I was actually communicating since the lawyer had left immigration because she got all this trouble. I had met the prior day a lady from New York City who was actually from the Dominican Republic, but she was living in New York for many years, so she spoke very fluent English. And I met her the day of the investigator. Well, the next day, when the investigator's not there and I come back to find out, what's going on, let's process the rest of this and get it done. Not only is the investigator not there, but the lady who was from New York or lived in New York for a while, she was Dominican Republic national, she's not there. And so everybody is running around like they can't speak any English. Okay, finally someone comes up that can barely speak English after about an hour in there and says that your paperwork lost. Can't find, no paperwork. Okay, and I'm thinking, oh man, this place sounds it's totally corrupt. I don't even want to mess with it. I mean, this is just a mess. And I just basically took off and left. I said, just learn from a lesson. Don't deal with a country like this. Well, years later, 2019, I figured maybe some things have changed about this country. The visa-free travel was still pretty bad. But, I've had people calling me wanting to know about the Dominican Republic, and they want to get residency there. So, I put myself through the experience again, okay? Dummy me, okay? I went through Google search, and I said, maybe if I pick somebody at the very top of the organic part of Google, I'll find someone who's honest. They might be slow as hell, but they'll be honest, okay? And to make a long story short, there was a lady by the first name of Maria. I won't mention her last name, okay? But she ended up, I talked to her. She's, oh yeah, it'll take you a couple of months, and then you can come in for your cellular, and then you can apply and get the passport. The passport will take about 2 years to get done. All right, so I ended up dealing with this lady, okay? I submitted the paperwork. 4 months later, I actually took a trip to the Philippines. Came back 4 months later, this Yahoo woman had not even turned in the paperwork, okay? And she's using every excuse under the sun. It just drove me nuts. I said, this looks like deja vu all over again. And to make a long story short, I'm going back and forth with this lady, not 4 months later, not 6 months later, not a year later, not 2 years later, not 2.5 years later. 3 years later, this lady has done absolutely nothing, okay? And found out that she was in some sort of cahoots with Immigration Department because Immigration was telling her that we don't deal with lawyers, we deal directly with the client, which is true with some countries, but you would think she would know that before anybody applies, okay? And it took her 2.5 years before she even brought this out. And then she's wanting to sue the immigration firm because she knows more than they do. I basically just fired her off the bat, dealt with Immigration Department. Immigration Department, though, then I had a real problem. They said they would converse with me. Make a long story short, they didn't. They stopped returning any phone calls at all. I mean, this is the part I'm telling you. We will not deal with Dominican Republic. If you want Dominican Republic, you need to find another immigration firm. We did it twice, had a pain in the ass dealing with them. Also, you'll hear some lawyers that will tell us, Maria did this. She told us there was used to be a language requirement. There is no language requirement anymore. And I found out that was incorrect. She lied about that, okay? And then when I confronted her on it, she told me, she says, well, you can pay for the questions for the Spanish test. I said, oh, God. I mean, here's a lawyer telling me to pay for questions for the Spanish test. But this is the type of corruption you're having to deal with there, okay? And folks, you're not going to get it in 2 years. Okay, if you're lucky, you can get it 4 to 6, maybe 8 years of after you apply for it. But this is the key. What do you have if you can even get it, okay? You've got a country that has 70 visa-free or visa-free on arrival countries and territories. You can't go to the Schengen countries visa-free, okay? If you're going to be, and you're going to have to learn the Spanish language, and if you don't know it, more than likely, you're going to have to move to the country to learn it. If you're going to go to that trouble, why not just move to Guatemala or El Salvador that does have visa-free, the Schengen countries? And I can tell you something, they're corrupt. That I don't know if any country I've ever dealt with is as corrupt as Dominican Republic. But the visa-free travel is a lot better in El Salvador and Guatemala than it is. And they also allow dual citizenship, just like Dominican Republic. So why in the hell would you want to go with Dominican Republic, okay? Now, basically, if you want to avoid all this residency and get the passport as quick as 45 to 60 days, it has a lot better visa-free travel than any of these countries. Go with St. Kitts and Nevis by far. It's a lot quicker. I'm telling you, it's not worth the hassle and headaches dealing with these countries. Even in Central America with El Salvador and Guatemala, you're still going to run into these bottleneck crap that it's going to drive you nuts. If you go with a fast-track program in St. Kitts, it's got 162 countries, visa-free or visa-free arrival countries and territories, no income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax. None of those other 3 countries have those qualifications. They do allow dual citizenship like St. Kitts does, but look at the benefits that you get with the St. Kitts and Nevis passport versus having to go through all those headaches with a lot more visa-free travel. It's just no choice other than St. Kitts, okay? Folks, don't even apply for Dominican Republic. You will be sorry on it. Take my advice from it. I didn't know it once. I did it twice, and it was over a 20-year period of time. Gave them plenty of time to come out of their inadequacy, their corruptness. It's a country you want to stay away from. The reason they don't have visa-free, the Schengen countries, is because the corruption there is so bad, okay? Europe doesn't want nationals to go there, okay, from Dominican Republic because the corruption is so bad. Anyway, folks, if you want to learn more on this, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen. You get new videos automatically as they come out right here. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.